Published, 12:40 Eastern Standard Time, the 4th of February 2019. Updated, 12:41 Eastern Standard Time, the 4th of February 2019. Sebastian Hibberd died in October 2015 after falling unwell at his home in PlymptonA. 6-year-old schoolboy's death was caused by a catalogue of errors, including NHS call handlers missing, red flags, in a treatable illness that killed him. Sebastian Hibberd died from a treatable blocked bowel. The NHS 111 helpline failed to pick up on the warning signs, an inquest was told. The blonde-haired boy died 2 days after falling ill in October 2015. His father Russell said 3 different call handlers from the 111 service failed to realize the seriousness of his son's condition. And Mr. Hibberd also repeatedly rang his GP surgery but was unable to speak to a doctor despite being assured one would call him back. Sebastian, from Plympton, Devon, had suffered diarrhea, was in great pain in the hours before his death and his vomit was green. Finally his father called 999 and began CPR on his son. Paramedics worked on the boy but he died in the emergency department at Plymouth's Derriford Hospital. He had sat holding his son's hand in the ambulance. Sebastian's mother Natalia and their other children were taken to a hospital room where Mr. Hibberd was left to tell them their brother had died. The senior coroner for Plymouth, Mr. Ian Arrow, said the medical cause of death was ischemic, necrotic bowel and intussusception, where one segment of intestine telescopes inside another causing an internal blockage. After a lengthy inquest, he recorded a narrative conclusion saying, "On the balance of probability there were several missed opportunities for him to receive life-saving treatment. In particular, it is more likely than not, had his condition been recognized and he had received treatment at 8:44 a.m. on the day he died, his life might have been preserved." The 2-week inquest started today into the death of the 6-year-old Plymouth schoolboy. By the time the seriousness of his condition was recognized at 1:54 p.m. it was less likely his life could be preserved. The coroner said he is still considering making a prevention of future deaths report. The Hibberds said after the inquest, "No words can properly describe the devastation that we all feel at the loss of Sebastian from our lives. He was quite simply the funniest, bravest, most adventurous and smartest of children and we all miss the laughter and joy he brought to every single day. Sebastian had a love of life and the thought that we will never hear his cheeky giggle again breaks our hearts. What is most tragic and inexplicable in all of this is that Sebastian's passing was totally avoidable. To have found out the catalogue of errors that led to his death has deeply shocked and angered us," clinical negligence lawyer Don Trelaw said. "This inquest has found that there were multiple failures by individuals and organizations. The safety of the urgent care system has been called into question. Whilst some changes have been made, more needs to be done to prevent situations like this happening again. Sebastian's death could and should have been avoided, and his family should not be in a position of grieving for their wonderful little boy." Sebastian was given CPR but declared dead a short while later after arriving at Derriford Hospital. Undated general photo of the hospital Saturday, October 10. Sebastian's father, Russell, realizes something is wrong as his son can't keep his food down and is vomiting more than once every hour. Sunday, October 11. Sebastian's condition rapidly deteriorates. By 6 to 7 a.m., Mr. Hibberd notices that his vomit has become dark green. By 8 a.m., his hands and feet feel cold. Monday, October 12, Mr. Hibberd calls Glenside Medical Center in Plymouth where an automated response tells him to call 111 or 999 if the situation is life-threatening. The father calls 111 at 8:17 a.m. and is told Sebastian needs to see his GP within 6 hours. By 8:30 a.m. he had called this surgery 5 times with no success. By 8:45 a.m., Sebastian's vomit is green and stringly. His father calls 111 a second time and again told to get him seen by his GP. Mr. Hibberd eventually gets through to the GP receptionist who says a doctor will call back but they never do. Sebastian's condition deteriorates further and his father calls the GP only to hear a call saying it was closed for lunch. At 1:30 p.m. the father calls 111 again and says Sebastian's arms and legs are cold and he had already tried to contact the GP. The call is aborted but the handler calls back and tells Mr. Hibberd to keep his son hydrated and give him Calpol. The surgery still had a message saying it was closed for lunch at 1:30 p.m. Mr. Hibberd calls 111 again and is taken through the same questions. Sebastian's vomit is now a coffee color, which was a change from before. An ambulance is dispatched. The father goes upstairs to find Sebastian unresponsive. He performs CPR using instructions from the 999 operator until the paramedic arrives at 2 p.m. and takes over. Another ambulance also tries to resuscitate Sebastian before he is taken to Darifid Hospital. He is taken into the resuscitation area at 3:07 p.m. where efforts to save him continued. CPR was stopped at 3:21 p.m. because continuing would be futile.